Number 10 on our list is helicopter rides.
Number 9 is Kidventure.
Number 8 is gliders.
Number 7, exhibits and vendors.
Number 6 are electric airplanes.
Aviation, Intrigue.
Number 5 is careers and academics. If you or someone in your family is interested in any sort of career in aviation, you need to know that Oshkosh AirVenture is not only the world's biggest air show, the world's busiest airport, but it's also the world's biggest aviation and aerospace job fair. There are dedicated centers for education and for schools and for careers. So if you go near the control tower, there's a whole building of colleges and universities, and there are outside tents displaying aircraft. And there are dozens and dozens of schools and colleges looking to recruit new students to their aviation school. And these range from aviation-only colleges such as Embry-Riddle to state colleges and universities. For example, Minnesota State University has a presence there. So if you take a look at the building and the outside displays, you'll get to talk to a lot of people from those colleges. There's also a career center where recruiters from dozens of airlines are there to talk to you, take your resumes, talk to you about the path to a career to one of the airlines. And that is something that you're going to have to dedicate a lot of time to if you're interested in that field. The FAA also has its own building just below the control tower. And if you walk in there, you are going to not only be able to ask any question to the FAA staff from all over the agency, but they will take your resume. So there's jobs within that, anywhere from air traffic controllers to safety inspectors, airspace specialists, and on. And they're particularly interested in recruiting air traffic controllers for careers. You can also find out how to become an airplane mechanic, an engineer, a builder. And by the way, NASA has a huge presence there. They do have their own building, and you can also talk to them about aerospace careers and what's happening at NASA.
Number 4 on our list is the fly markets. It is the aviation equivalent to a flea market. They're set up very conveniently in between the showgrounds and the campgrounds. And here, what we found was a lot of small to medium-sized vendors with everything, many of them very aviation-related items. For example, you would find vendors that are offering aviation detailing services, or you could find supplies or parts for your aircraft. But we also found items that are only loosely related to aviation. For example, I found a section where there were RVs and campers from companies that make them, which was very interesting. I suppose people who have a travel lifestyle may also enjoy looking at these RVs. In fact, there were even some very rugged four-wheel drive RV type vehicles, which caught my eye, and I found them very interesting. Also, there is a vendor that is selling cookware specifically catered to people who fly and camp. And in fact, if you're in the camp shoulder and let's say you forgot something, you could easily come over to the fly market, and it becomes a marketplace for you to buy the kind of things that either you forgot or maybe your lawn chair broke. You could come here and buy a lawn chair and happily continue your camping. And this is all very conveniently located. Plus, there's a whole bunch of food vendors throughout the fly market. So you're not just shopping, but you have your popcorns and ice creams and, of course, cheese curds tacos. How Wisconsin can you get? So it's a perfect synergy to what you see with the big vendors out on the showgrounds.
Number 3, ATC and the Fisk Arrival. This is a really fun hidden gem that I discovered online, and I actually got to go this year, so I'll explain how it works. On a previous episode, we shared some tips for plane spotting in person around the country, and of course, AirVenture is one of the best places to go. But here, if you wanted to have a quiet little out-of-the-way spot to watch the conga line of airplane arrivals at Oshkosh a day or two before the show, this is where you go. So there's a tiny town called Fisk, just southwest of Oshkosh. And that is the checkpoint where the arriving line of airplanes checks in with air traffic control. The catch is you don't really talk to air traffic control, they talk to you. So they set up a temporary little approach station with a radio and binoculars, and they spot you out as you come across Fisk in the line. and then they assign you either a left turn or a right turn to get you to the runway. So this is not the control tower. This is something that happens a few miles before the control tower. And I found that you could just pull up along the side of the road, this little town called Fisk, bring a lawn chair, and then sit on the hill right where the controllers are out spotting airplanes and talking to them. And one of the coolest things is there's a famous instruction for this kind of arrival, which is a very special procedure to get, we talked about, around 10,000 airplanes in over a couple of days, where they tell each airplane coming over Fisk to rack your wings. And so you get to watch the conga line coming in. Each one is rocking their wings, and then they're directed to the runway. So it was a really, really cool place that a lot of people don't know about, because there were just a few people there wandering around, and it was really great because you could also talk to the controllers and ask them how it works. So this is something where if you're looking for something a little bit out of the way, that's something to think about a day or two before the show, the weekend before it starts. So what happens after Fisk? Well, every airplane is told to either follow the railroad tracks to the north side of the airport or follow the road to the south side of the airport. And from there, you're just listening for the control tower to pick out your airplane, and it's usually by color and type, for example, red and white high wing, clear to land. And from there, you're also given a dot or a square of a different color to land on, because they're landing 2 airplanes at a time on these runways because of the thousands coming in, which is, again, a very special procedure just for this show. And so you're given your dot, you're cleared to land, and then that's your arrival to Oshkosh. Really, really fun way to go there.
And finally, we're down to the top 2. Number 2 on our list is the Goodyear Blimp. I'm sure everyone has seen a Goodyear Blimp at your favorite sporting event. Did you know that the Goodyear Blimp is also ever present at the Oshkosh AirVenture? They're there every year giving rides and coverage of the grounds. However, this year was so special that it was the 100th anniversary of the Goodyear Blimp. It started in 1925. So, in addition to their usual Goodyear Blimp, they had a special livery Goodyear Blimp this year in the colors that match what they had originally, which was really, really good to see, especially if you are an aviation historian or an aviation buff. They were giving rides, they were going over the showgrounds, and they were taking off at the same pioneer field that the helicopters that we talked about. In a previous episode, we talked about hot air balloons, and a Goodyear blimp or any other blimp is only a bigger version of the balloon with a bit more maneuverability. And did you know that the pilots of the blimp are certified pilots and they have to go through a lot of training? And if you missed it this year, make sure to catch one next year.
And number 1 on the list for AirVenture 2025, the F-35 Flyby. This is the major highlight crowd pleaser at the air show. So the F-35, this particular one, out of the many variants they have, is the F-35A Lightning II. This is one of the latest Air Force fighter jets. And according to EAA, this year's demonstration team is based at Hill Air Force Base in Utah. And they came for the week to demonstrate the F-35 at the air shows. It was also on static display at Boeing Plaza, so you could get it fairly close up to it, look at it, and take pictures. And it was a really, really cool airplane. I'd never seen anything like this close up, and it's quite different from things like the well-known F-16 fighters that have commonly been at the air show. This one was a little flatter, a little bigger. It had a gray color to it because it has stealth flying capabilities. And when you get to see it in the air, the demonstration flight was awesome because they let you see it from all different angles. It flew by with a fast profile view, so you could see how sleek and fast it is. And then it did a whole bunch of high G turns, so you could see the belly and you could see the afterburner. And by the way, everyone came for the Thunder. It is an incredibly loud fighter jet, and that's really where people will come exclusively just to see this. And they did not skimp on the high-speed flybys during the air shows. So they made several high-speed passes, and everyone was just cheering, taking pictures. That was definitely a highlight of the air show week. And we have an honorable mention, which is the seaplane base at AirVenture. This is something you can go to every year if you want a quiet place to go take a picnic in a shady spot. You can drive just a few miles south of the airport, a little bay along the shores of Lake Winnebago, where you can see seaplanes parked and seaplane demonstrations and other events. And that is a place that is a little bit out of the way, but you can also take a bus from the AirVenture grounds to the seaplane base. No extra ticket required to do that. And it's a really, really neat little hidden gem that you can also get to during the show.
Well, there you have it, the top 10 things you missed if you were not in Oshkosh this year. If you did miss it, make sure you put it on your list and show up there next year in July of 2026. And we have another exciting episode for you next week, so make sure to tune in to Aviation Intrigue.